Good morning. My name is Karen Mendoza. I am from Bravous Youth Esports, and we're here today at the beautiful Sequoyah Country Club in Oakland, California, with Coach Bill Patton. He is the director of the tennis programs here at Sequoyah Country Club. He's invited us here to Sequoyah Country Club today. He's invited us here today so that we can talk about how to establish a world-class youth sports program. So, Bill, thanks for having us today.
No, it's exciting to be here, and I can't wait. It's fun to reconnect with you, Karen. So, all right, where do we begin?
Let's begin by how did you get into coaching?
It's a really interesting story that I will make very short. I was looking for work, and back in the old days, we looked in the want ads of the newspaper, and there was a coaching position for my high school that I had played at, and I showed that I was interested in coaching tennis, and the funny thing is, one thing led to another. I did not end up getting that job, but because I expressed that interest, then some people lined me up with how to get started coaching tennis, and that was in 1988.
Wow. And so you've been teaching ever since?
Yes, pretty much, almost nonstop, yeah.
And has it been always with recreation centers or country clubs, or?
There's been a mix. I mean, I kind of cut my teeth as a high school coach, and then I became a club pro, and then also spent a lot of time working with Parks and Rec programs.
Okay, great.
And now here I am at the country club.
Is that pretty much the traditional pathway of career pathway?
I'd say it's actually non-traditional. I would say very few people go from coaching high school tennis into becoming a full-fledged tennis professional. But there are some that do it. Generally, people who were good players, or college or professional players, or strong otherwise. Those are the ones that generally become tennis teaching pros. So my path was definitely a little different.
Well, let's kind of dissect that path a little bit from. You said you had some experience in the city programs and recreational centers, which I'm assuming are they younger athletes, rec center programs?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially compared to high school, but rec center programs, I think they would be a little bit younger. We tend to get a lot more children and a lot fewer adults here, and at most clubs, then you are going to have 50 to 100% more active adults coming out for lessons at a club.
Right. As you think about the topic I'm certainly very curious about, and that is establishing kind of this really phenomenal world-class youth sports program, what do you think are the key ingredients to helping to foster and to even start up a youth sports program?
I think it's really an amazing thing to call anything world class. So I think it's something to strive for, but when you think of world class, those are the best of the best. So you're talking about way deep inside the 1%. So I think of world class as leading to Olympics and professional play. But that doesn't mean you can't have a world-class mindset in what you deliver. So I'm reminded of a feature in Wired magazine that I really like called Wired, Tired, Fired. So if you're going to be world-class, you really need to be wired. You have to be constantly learning. You have to be at the cutting edge where you're knowing about what's the next thing that's coming. And so that you're ahead of it, and you're an early adopter of all the great stuff. The next level down is tired, where you're getting the information that other people spearheaded, and then you come in and you're in the next wave, but by that time it's maybe already starting to lose steam. you're always in catch-up mode. You know, people who are tired are not at the cutting edge. They're not doing the most efficient thing that can be done. And then finally is fired. So the people that are 5 years behind, then they're not as valuable. People don't value those programs, those people, those activities if they're not at the cutting edge. However, in this country and around the world, there are an awful lot of people who've become quite content with programs that are far less than world class. So, to sum that up, I would say that it's constantly striving to be a little bit better every day and not taking a day off from that.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. Wired, tired, and fired. I like that, and I love your take on having a world-class mindset being a very critical ingredient, right, to establishing a world-class or to establishing a youth sports program. Mm-hmm. Any other sort of critical factors that are necessary to start up a youth sports?
Well, I mean, I would kind of turn it around. I'm going to kind of ask rhetorically and then sort of answer my own question, is what's the current model? What do people currently think of as being world class? And generally, they're thinking of sort of a grinding work ethic mentality of, putting in the hard yards and, creating a so-called program or system, and the people come through the system and then the system grinds them out and into these formed pieces. But I think that that's actually tired. That's becoming tired, and I think that also doesn't necessarily mash up as well so much with the current generation. So the model that I've been promoting is the athlete-centered model. And more, you're starting to see this more. People are using this phrase. And so I became intrigued with this and decided to run with it. And I wrote a book called The Athlete-Centered Coach. The whole gist of that book can be summed up as, and this is where I think we get wired, is what we're doing healthy, productive, and positive for the present and the future of the people coming through. So like take esports for instance. I mean, I'm thinking done poorly, esports creates a sedentary lifestyle, which is going to lead to some unhealthy habits. I happen to know that in the highest levels of esports, the top athletes are actually taking their physical training and their diet and a lot of and the care of their bodies much more seriously because they can perform better. They have better reaction times to things, better clarity of thought. So a tremendous resource for that is something called the Future of Sport, Omni Athlete, which is actually beginning to make way into esports. And it's also interesting to see how things like virtual reality and augmented reality are now coming into the so-called traditional training sports space, where you have quarterbacks who run through virtual reps of plays, and different situations can be inserted into that, and then the quarterback has to react to that. So there are many, many ways that we can train our eyes and our mind using virtual and augmented reality. And then you also kind of get into the whole meditation practice, visualization. So all of that is very much on the cutting edge, and it's happening now. And I know that Omni Athlete is very much interested in leading the way on that.
Yeah, I like that. I think certainly the innovation and the technology that is available to all of us is changing the landscape by which we get healthier and fitter and how we do our training regimen, right? So I think the next area I want to kind of dive into is the development of a young athlete because I think the thing I've always admired about Coach Patton, Coach Bill here, and dear friend of mine from
I warned her not to do this.
I know.
Keep going.
But the thing that I've admired is that, while you're instilling a passion and a love for a sport like tennis, there's also kind of these life lessons and kind of instilling these sort of values of how to respect other players and how to really kind of function as a respected human being, right? And I saw it so manifested so truly kind of in the younger programs, right? Where there are these rambunctious kids who their parents kind of enrolled them and it was, tennis camps were their mandatory sort of summer activity,
right.
But yet through it all, yes, we teach you some techniques in tennis, but also, we teach you hopefully good moral values, right?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say morals, but so there's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis, and it starts with a quote, and the quote is, "We play a game because God first played a game." And so, what that means to me is that, games are sort of a virtual life. And so you can learn some skills that you can put into your life in sort of a lesser threatening format of a game that, the outcome of which doesn't kill you or, make you live forever. But it's a microcosm, and you can learn some things that are great strategies that will help you compete, that will also help you in the so-called game of life. And then I think also when you take life as a game, then it's more fun. You can play games with things that you would like to do. So. Yeah. So I think I don't really get to the gist of your question there. I want to go a little further here. It's really a solemn and sacred responsibility of coaches to kind of instill the values that are going to carry them forward into success and satisfaction, being able to move forward rather than just sort of capitalizing on a kid's talent so that they can win you a game today for whatever glory that brings you in the moment.
That's right. I think, the two books you've written that speak also to kind of the importance of including the parents in the journey of the kids or the child's, not just tennis career, but his sportsmanship, right? And sports journey. Playing sports the right way.
Playing sports right.
Your way.
Your way.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And then the other book that you wrote that I loved was the one you wrote with Lisa.
Lisa Stone of Parenting Aces. Hi, Lisa. I'll tag her on this.
Okay.
So, that's tennis parents and coaches, right? Creating a culture of collaboration for winning tennis. So, because this is a common complaint of coaches is, those terrible parents. And the common complaint of parents is, those terrible coaches. And so, it's like the musical Oklahoma, right? The cowhands and the farmer should be friends. So, really what we ought to do is creating teams. So I'm on Team Kid. Right, so Kid comes to me, and now I'm going to create Team Kid, and I'm the head coach, and mom and dad are, the head coach of their life. Right? The kid is the one that's living their life, And so how do we work together to empower the kid, redirect the kid, help them learn to make good decisions, because they're gonna have to make decisions and they're gonna have to be entrusted with those.
I like, it's definitely helped me personally as I think about, sports activities for my own family, for my own kids, and I think those books, your books, help me define my role as a parent, right, in kind of their journey.
Yeah, and I hope that parents read that book through the lens of a coach talking to the kid. So they get to become privy to the conversation,
right,
but they also have to butt out.
Right.
They also have to let that conversation happen. No, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And as a parent and as a coach, the default is that we're going to be over controlling and self-important.
Right.
I think it's really easy to think that as a coach or a parent, you have to be the one making things happen all the time.
Course at Stanford Extension, Stanford Continuing Education, that I took, called How to Be a Futurist, right, by Jane McGonigal, who writes, by the way, some phenomenal books, one of which is called Super Better, and she does talk about the game of life and how to kind of make these sort of mission-based gains from simple daily routines and activities that help you really bolster your mental state of, your mental state of mind, and healthy and physical, all of that great stuff. It almost has some parallels to another great author, which is Simon Sinek, a great marketer. Anyways, she says that parents are by far going to be the most optimistic about their child's future than anybody else.
Yeah,
right?
it's built in.
It's built
better,
in. Absolutely.
Well, except for the ones that don't. Because there are quite a few cynical, jaded non-believers. Parental dysfunction follows the kid. I see this quite regularly, actually, and I am sometimes disturbed by the behavior of parents. And my rule of thumb is, don't hold the bad behavior of the parent against the kid.
Two separate individuals there.
They are, because, at some point, every kid has to decide, has to become an adult and choose their own path. So it happens at some point or another. But, but I'm never going to sort of work in any way to undermine the authority of a parent. That would be foolish. But there are times that we have conversations about, well, what do you think? And then what do mom and dad think? And then what are you going to do with the fact that those things differ? Yeah.
So I'd like to pivot to a new topic, which is kind of I personally need to get, I'd like a better understanding of this concept you raise in the books you've written about theories X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
So can you take
Yeah,
us
I think I can do that. I haven't thought about those for a little bit.
Really?
But
because you're probably
I'm operating. Yeah, I'm living theory Z. But these are management theories, and so theory X is that workers are lazy and they need to be motivated, and so you do things to incentivize or coerce. So it's pure carrot and stick. And the presumption is, and sure, they're workers that are theory X workers, sure. So that theory is valid. And then there's theory Y, which is that people are intrinsically motivated to do things that they desire to do. That's where you get the multicolored parachute, right? Where people do their dream job and then they're happy, and so everybody just find your dream job and you're going to be okay. Except that every dream job has its pitfalls, and you'd be surprised by some of the horrible things that happen as a coach that you would rather not do, but you end up doing them anyway. And ultimately, people are then kind of drawn to and motivated by doing something where they find fulfillment. And then theory Z is that anything that you might do can become a way of self-betterment and betterment of your community and the people around you. So, no matter what you're doing, when you do it with a smile on your face, then you're having a positive impact on people. And I think about people from all walks of life. I mean, I really appreciate people who do maintenance work. I would really hate to do that. Some people love it. And when I meet people who love that job, I want to show my gratitude to them. And they play a vital role in my life because they're keeping things nice. I don't want to do that. But they're fulfilling their role, but I want to honor them, right? And so as we sort of all honor each other as we do things somewhere along the continuum of the thing that we would most like to do to the thing that we most dread, then there's a lot of fulfillment to be had there. And that's part of the game of life is, getting up and making those phone calls you don't want to make, writing those emails you don't want to write, doing the continuing education that requires travel and expense and all those other things so that you can stay on the cutting edge and so yeah, it's all about, having a growth mindset and going towards continual betterment of yourselves and others.
I think that's great. I now have a very clear understanding about Theory Z, and
that's, I was on the spot there. I could probably go more into detail, but do your own research, people.
Yeah, and you've articulated it well too in the books. I wanted to take the opportunity to put you on the spot and ask you about it. But certainly, I think as we wrap up the conversation today, a couple of pointers that I certainly learned from our discussion is certainly the definition of theories X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And then Bill, any other sort of highlights from today's conversation for you?
Well, I was challenged by the question of world class because I would like to think that I'm striving to be world class in everything that I do. And I know for sure that there are people who are going to watch this and they're going to say, well, no, you're not world class because have you trained a player who had accomplishment that, A, B, or C? And the answer is no. So then, therefore, you are not world class. We need to take it out of that context of what is the finite achievement level of the people that you're working with, but more into how much improvement and how much value do you bring to that person during that time that you exist on their timeline. That's I think where we can become world class at any level.
Absolutely. I think that the other key lesson I learned today, or actually I've known it, it's just been reinforced today in our chat, is the importance of the role of parents or, the adult supervision in the child's life to help encourage and grow the young athlete during their journey.
And if I can piggyback on that, I'm not only a coach, but I'm also a parent, and my kids played sports. And one thing that I always did, well, not always. One thing that I strive to really do is to allow my kids to have that sacred space with their coach, and not to intervene. Allow them to have that time. Now, I might very quietly go to a coach and make an observation and say, hey, here's what I see, right? Do with it as you will. I'm not going to follow up to make sure you did it my way, but I see this happening, and I recommend that you think about doing this or come up with a better strategy to deal with that, or you're going to find that you're going to be having some problems, right? So, I'm just trying to be a friendly, helpful parent, but yet respecting your position, and, I'm not going to undermine you or talk behind your back or complain about decisions that you make, because I don't tell these things to the other parents.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I think with that, thank you, Bill,
Thank you.
for the time. Thank you to the audience for watching. Always great to spend some time with Coach here.
All right,
and,
awesome.
Until next time.
There's going to be a next time?
Absolutely, I would love to continue
All right,
to do
okay,
this if
so
you're up for
until
it.
next time.
Until next time. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.